Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today we're going to talk about the games people are playing,
the games people play.
what the numbers say that the games people play.
One way or another, that's what we're talking about. So a while ago, we saw this guy, I think his Dungeon Craft on YouTube.
Deathbringer.
Dungeon Craft. I think Dungeon Craft is his YouTube channel. And he was talking about going to Gen Con, and he crunched some numbers. I don't know. I guess you could find out. Or I guess you do.
Because you did it with a different convention.
It's true, but mine's much smaller.
A lot less numbers to crunch.
So he figured out how many games there were at Gen Con, what games were offered and how many. Like how many D&D sessions were, or tables he called them. And some of his numbers were pretty interesting. I thought, well, I wondered right after that, what about local conventions? How will they mimic what Gen Con does? Is it different?
How would the numbers compare?
Right.
Which was absolutely hilarious because we would watch this YouTube video, right? And then the next day I get up and there's this piece of paper on the table with all these games for the convention coming up,
DunDraCon, right.
Saul parsed it. It was amazing.
Well, I was a bit late, and for some reason I decided that's what would be a good time to count up all these games.
Because between 12 and 2, that's, usually when people want to deal with a lot of numbers.
That's where I'm most creative. No, I don't know. Should have gone to bed. Anyway, so I usually is just when crazy ideas happen. And so, of course, the crazy idea was, hey, how many games are being offered at DunDraCon and blah, blah, blah. So I did some simple things. I just went down the complete list of what was being offered. And every time I found a new game, I'd write down the name of the game, the system, whether it was Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Tales from the Loop. I just wrote it down. And then when there was another one, I just put a little hash mark. And then, do the old 5 the cross for 5. And then, anyway, so I counted, I did all that. And and then I just left the paper there because I was exhausted. And then Jolene found it the next day. She goes, whoa, I saw you were pretty measured last night. I go, well, that or I was just a little off my rocker.
It could go either way.
So this guy, Dungeon Craft, you could look at his video. You can find it on YouTube. Look it up what his numbers are from from Gen Con. And Gen Con is huge, right? There's like 80,000 people going.
I want to go there one day if someone wants to pay for me to do it and figure out how to get me a hotel room and how to get there.
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to leave you behind because I don't like big crowds.
That's true. We like to go to Gen Con, but we live in California, and it's expensive to go out there and spend time there.
And apparently you can't get hotel rooms and you need to figure out.
It's a lottery system or something, or time or something.
Yes.
Because there's too many people. Some people do Airbnbs. They say that's but then they're probably real pricey because they know Gen Con.
Hello.
That's like a secret that they don't know about. So anyway, I decided to do that for this upcoming local convention called DunDraCon. And DunDraCon's been around. Well,
it's in its 49th year.
This is 49th convention. They skipped COVID.
At least for
1 year.
1 year, yeah.
Because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And then, and this takes place in February, which is, they call it President's Day weekend, but other people, crazy people, call it Valentine's Day weekend.
Because what else are you going to do for your girlfriend but take her to a convention for the weekend?
With 1,300 of my closest friends. So DunDraCon, it probably has between 1,500 and 1,900 attendees. That's the size of the convention. It's all in one hotel in their convention space, and they sometimes sell out of rooms. But that's the numbers of people that go is between 1,500 and 1,900.
Saul's just guessing there. I don't know if he actually has the
actual number of attendees. I did actually know the number of attendees the last year, and they've since COVID, obviously they've been going up. And I think last year they said was the largest number of attendees they've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah. So and hopefully it keeps going up.
Of course.
It's a business, so we
like it.
We like going to conventions, and it's a very nice convention. Yes. So by the numbers, DDC Dungeons, that's what we call DunDraCon. DunDraCon. Because you can imagine what it was back in, must have been the late 70s when it first started, because it's almost 50. Well, 50 years ago. Yeah, it was definitely in the 70s when it started. So I think they tout it as the longest running, oldest running gaming convention on the West Coast. I think that's what they call it. And indeed, being around continuously for 50 years is quite a feat for any kind of system where people are just volunteering and doing the work and doing the hard lifting of putting on a convention, even a small local one. So anyway, so they've been around for 50 years, and I think that might have some influence on the games that are offered, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go with a yes or a no on that one.
So by the numbers, there's 207 games being offered.
When you looked at it,
according to the RGP coordinator.
Okay.
91 distinct systems, different games.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of systems.
That is a lot of systems. For the number of games offered, percentage-wise, we're talking percentages, even though it's not Gen Con size, but we're talking about percentages. That's a lot of different systems. I thought it was interesting.
Are there like versions of D&D though?
No. I just counted.
You just said if it had D&D in it, you just
No. I did separate D&D from AD&D, and I just called the only one I kind of crunched together was 5th edition D&D, 2014 edition to 2024 edition. I kind of crunched those together, and this excludes organized play, which has
a lot
of systems because they run 4-hour sessions up until midnight, starting at 8.
Yeah.
That's I don't do math, so that's what 4 or 5 sessions.
He doesn't do math. It's okay, baby. You don't need to count. He's looking at a clock currently, trying to figure it out.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 sessions, and they have multiple tables. Yeah, so it is a lot of games going on, other than the ones that are run by the convention. So I'm going to start with just the games. Now, there's some systems that are grouped together. You could, like the Year Zero system, even though it runs Coriolis and Tales from the Loop. I didn't do that. I just put the name, the single most, and then there's like...
I understand, babe.
Like Cyberpunk Red, and there's Cyberpunk 2020, which is different editions. Okay, so which was really surprising because it's a smaller con.
This doesn't have to go on the podcast, but do you still have the numbers for what the guy said?
No.
Okay.
The guy on no. That's why I tell him to go watch the video.
Okay.
So because it's a smaller con, there's less numbers, and so there's quite a few ties. Quite a few for the most popular, or they're not popular, the most run games that there is. So the top 10.
Okay.
I had to go to 11 because the 10 is tied.
So what was the 11? 10 is 2. Okay.
Yeah, 10 is 2. And anyways, that's the one I cheated on this list. So tied at 3 games apiece were Mork Borg and Feng Shui.
Wow.
Interesting. Now, both of those are kind of light, action heavy. Well, I don't know if I'd call Mork Borg light. Yeah, but I think so. So they're really action orientated, obviously. And one is quite a few bit older than the other. I mean, Mork Borg is maybe 2 or 3 years old, maybe a little bit older. And it uses I forget what system it uses. I think it uses Year Zero engine. But anyway, it is a lighter system than, let's say, the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And Feng Shui is a cinematic. We've talked about Feng Shui quite a bit. And so I think...
I'm glad Feng Shui made it into your top 10 there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are very interesting, both systems. One's a fantasy game, one's a like Hong Kong action theater kind of game.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Next is 8 and 9, another tie. Gee, you mentioned that. Daggerheart and Cyberpunk Red.
That's interesting because I was told just randomly that Dragonheart was going to take over. Daggerheart, sorry. Dragonheart is a movie, isn't it?
I think I'm sure it is. And again,
that Daggerheart was going to come up fast and outpace Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, take over Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are upset at Dungeons and Dragons politics.
Yeah.
We don't really talk about here. And a lot of it was also, they've done some things that people found distasteful. They hired some Pinkertons to go after some guy that they gave the free cards to. WotC did, or Hasbro. I think they gave him some
I'm sorry, the Pinkertons.
Yes, of all things. And we,
Is
okay.
that the actual Pinkertons?
Yeah. So what? Really, this is kind of a side, but one of the things is what happened was some guy who's a big YouTuber or influencer in the tradable
Anyway,
card games
mhm.
got a pack of like a full pack of
Magic.
Magic the Gathering cards, and he, of course, he made a video. He started talking about the cards and blah blah blah, and then they had a cease and desist order or something like that, right? And then they go, "How dare you?" He goes, "You got to send that back." And then he for whatever reason he wasn't like paying attention to his emails, and so they were so upset at him. They sent the Pinkertons, a group of them or somebody they hired, and they went to his house and they like threatened him. They go, "You got to give us the cards, or we're gonna take you."
Oh, he didn't buy the cards.
No, they was given like an advanced copy. It's for him to review. But what happened was it was too advanced, and they didn't want him to talk about it. But he didn't know about it, and so he put his YouTube
Well,
video
they
up.
gave it to him to review. Hello.
So, but which in case instead of like being, oh, you know what, we just want you to hold off on putting out the video.
They could have called him.
Something, right? They got the cards to him.
They could have texted him.
It's something. Anyway, so stuff like that, just little, what was it, faux pas of business marketing.
Yeah.
And some people say there's no such thing as bad marketing, but yes, there is, because people were really upset about that. And I guess the Pinkertons have a terrible history about they were used in the like capturing slaves and stuff back in the 1800s.
They were from England, right?
No, they're
The New York ones.
There was New York, and there was another group in Chicago, and I think they were like at odds with.
They're
each other.
like private investigators,
Yes.
but in the
But
in
can
the
you imagine
past,
in the 1800s,
yeah.
they probably weren't very scrupulous.
They probably aren't now either.
Obviously, since they threatened some guy with cards for Magic the Gathering. Anyway, so certain people were always saying, "Oh, this is going to be
The death.
the D&D killer."
Yeah.
Right. Well, Daggerheart,
It's new. It just came out, right?
I think it
like
came out
2 years ago?
2025.
20. So last year.
So last year, yeah. So it was tied, right? 3 games.
Yeah.
Did I say 3?
And 3 was 10
No,
and 11.
4 games at each. And then Daggerheart and then Cyberpunk Red, which is completely different, right? Cyberpunk is a Cyberpunk game. And Red, I'm not combining the 220 because there are 220 games. Cyberpunk's in. And I think that's interesting that there's a dichotomy between something like full-on fantasy and then something that's science fiction
Okay.
being offered.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty cool. A balancing act. And
I think you might have gone way too much into these numbers, Junior.
Well, okay. 6 and 7 tied again.
6, 7.
Oh my God, 6, 7. I'm moving my arms in some stupid fashion. So there we go. World of Darkness.
Oh.
Now this one I kind of cheated. I didn't really pay attention if it was vampire or
It doesn't matter. It's
Werewolf
World
one.
of Darkness.
werewolf one. Some people it does matter. Don't say that. Well, the listeners, don't pay attention to that. No, kidding. But most of them were the vampire ones. Hardly any. There was, there's a whole bunch of them. There's Wrath the Oblivion. There's a Magic User one, and a Werewolf one, and anyway. So there's all kinds of stuff. So most of these were werewolf. No, the other one.
Vampire.
Vampire the Masquerade. It's making a big comeback, I think, for some reason.
It's a good genre.
Yeah.
People really like it.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm surprised that when Twilight came out, there wasn't a huge jump in.
There might have been. You weren't really paying attention to Vampire the
20 years
Masquerade
ago?
then. I don't
No,
know.
the Twilight series.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I barely watched
Probably in
the
the
first
2000s.
movie, and I've never read the books.
Yes.
So there you go.
Correct. I did get an advanced copy of that book, Twilight, remember? Anyway, doesn't matter. They didn't come after me. Next, and then what it was tied with, Vampire the Masquerade or World of Darkness, was homebrew systems. And I just threw those in together because they're not the same system.
Of course not.
But I thought it was interesting that many homebrew systems were being presented by.
I would pause it to say.
You want me to pause the class?
Stop. I would venture to say that homebrew is probably that makes sense to me. I mean, it's a big. I'm not going to say genre. It's a big thing, right? People get what they like, but they don't like certain rules, and they're going to homebrew it to make it their own.
Or just say, you know what? I've been role playing for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and I'm like, I think I could do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like almost all the GMs I know.
All right. So then there was a 4-way tie between second place and fifth place. It's kind of weird, huh? So Shadow Dark, which is super popular, obviously, and is this one they say is going to be could be a big contender against D&D.
What system is it?
It's OSR. It's D&D.
Oh, okay.
OSR with all kinds of shenanigans. Or maybe, Daggerheart is completely different, and then the other one is completely different. But Shadow Dark, I think, is an OSR version of fantasy gaming.
Yeah.
Hero.
The superhero one.
Superhero game. COC, Call of Cthulhu, and Pathfinder. So there's a little bit of everything in that one, right?
That's between 5 and 2?
Yes.
Okay.
So Shadow Dark, which is a fantasy game, obviously Pathfinder. I didn't differentiate between Pathfinder 1 and 2. So there's 6 of those, and 6 COC games, and 6 Hero games. Hero, which I would add, has not been no new edition since 2009.
Our friend Elaine, her father runs that one,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And that's what I was going to point to a lot of later on. But anyway, I thought it's interesting. Pathfinder, which was at one point more popular than D&D back when Pathfinder
4th edition came out.
And 4th edition D&D came out. Yes, people hated 4th edition.
Some people loved it.
Some people loved it, but not enough numbers to make Pathfinder a more popular game than D&D at the time, 4th edition. So it's taken a slide back, right? It's in second place with
Pathfinder is in second place, right?
Yes,
with Call of Cthulhu.
6, and Hero and Shadow Dark.
Oh,
they all
wow!
had 6 games each.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
I'm surprised that Call of Cthulhu only had 6 games. I would also venture to say that even though these are the scheduled games, I'm sure there are people that run in the open play. Open gaming, and there's like groups like we know Chris's friends. They play their own.
They just meet up.
They just meet up at the convention,
so they all get together in one.
And there's another group. Oh no, that was a different convention. There was another group that specifically did that I sat next to when I was trying to eat something, and they were talking about how this is the only place they meet to play. Since they live in different places.
Since they're all a bit scattered.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You can, and then you can get a hotel room, pretty cheaper than normal rates.
Mm-hmm.
Cheaper than you could probably usually get if you all got together and decided to get a block of rooms, right? And you got convention space. So bada bing, bada boom. What I got about these 4 is that people are willing to run older games, right? You're talking about Hero and quite a few, versions of Hero. Hero, like I said, it was number 2, right? 6 games, and like I said, it hasn't been updated since 2009, and that's 16 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, there was no Shadowrun in here.
No, Shadowrun. I'm sorry. I know you look really disappointed.
Well, no, because when we were talking about when I was listening to the video, we were watching the video on YouTube.
Yes.
Shadowrun was like number 3.
3, I think. Yeah. Again, another thing is different about this is that these are games, and I was going to mention at the end, these are games run by volunteers only, right?
Right.
They're not sponsored by D&D or Wizards of the Coast. They're not sponsored by.
Are at Gen Con, are they sponsored?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They actually...
Well, because I know he said there were like 2,000 D&D games.
That was ridiculous.
And like 1,800 Pathfinder games. And there was there was at least 500 Shadowrun.
Yeah, something like that.
Which I thought was amazing because I thought, something like that.
But you got to remember that the company itself goes and recruits people to run their games for them. Now, I don't know if they get paid. I know most of the time you get free entry into the con if you run a game, and as is in this case. But like if you run a game with, let's say, Wizards of the Coast, they'll pay for your room. Maybe, I don't know. They give you some perk.
Saul's guessing on
I'm
that.
Guessing
what
on
the
it.
perk
Yes,
is.
Yes, I'm guessing what the perk is. So I think it's pretty interesting. That again, a variety of games. There's 2 fantasy role-playing games, and the other one is a superhero game,
mm-hmm.
and the other one is COC, which is modern, more or less, depending on the time period.
You ancient.
So number 1, with about 25% of the sessions, was
D&D.
D&D 5th edition, whether 2014 or 2015. Now, I think this kind of mirrors what the guy who did Gen Con, because I think he goes, oh, that's a lot of games for Pathfinder, and that's a lot of games for Shadowrun, but it's overshadowed by the number of games that
for
were
D&D.
For D&D. And in this case, it's true. We had 46 games for D&D 5th edition. I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, just because I was a little odd.
You were a little odd?
I am a little bit odd.
Okay.
I didn't distinguish between 5th edition 2014, 2024. And I said this mimics the same one as the guy did about Gen Con. But DDC is a little different, right? There are no sponsored games, and so that might bring the numbers down. The only way they sponsor them is if you run a game for a certain amount of time, they give you a free pass to attend the con. They don't give you a room.
Right.
And that's pretty standard around here for local conventions. There might be some people who are like really connected with a company, like they run a lot of games of like Monty Cook games. I'm like I don't know what they call them, but they run games. An ambassador. There you go. And they say, well, I'm going to run games at DunDraCon, like all the local cons here. I'm going to run 2 or 3 games, and so they give them like, oh, we could give you pencils or bags and stuff to give out, swag, dice.
Yeah,
that has the company logo on it.
Just as an aside, when Augustine and Alan and Ian were little and we were in the kids' room a lot,
yes,
specifically at DunDraCon, there was a guy that ran a certain game and you had little boxes. There were little figures.
Okay.
And he gave them actual coins to, like, they were like little coins. They were either dollars or quarters or.
Yeah, they were dollars.
And the boys were so excited about that. That was the first time that, because when you say swag, you know, sometimes the swag is cool and stuff. But when they were little, that was like, they always wanted to find that guy and play with him because
yes, I remember.
He was like really cool because he gave them that kind of swag.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about.
Right. And sometimes, so I have been in games where people will come in and say, oh, the company wants to offer this up, and they'll have like books for free.
Yeah.
And then the person goes, you guys can decide who wins it or who gets it.
Yeah.
Like I think we played, for some reason I was playing some hero game. Imagine that. And Hero, the actual name of the game. And somebody came by and offered and had put down like 3 books. One of them I was really interested in was called the Terran Federation because it was a space game.
Right.
And I was kind of interested in that. And then but
the Terran Federation, was that a
hero game? It was like
it was Hero.
Setting.
Okay. Right. I was Terran. What makes me think of Star Trek.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. So Hero is a system.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't just not just for, it's just not for superheroes anymore. It's for everything.
Well, I know that like I haven't really seen a lot of swag at the local conventions that we go to, but when we go to Comic-Con, the comic convention.
Oh yes.
I forget the name of the newest one, but they will give you, like when we went into the room where they had the board games and role playing games.
Yeah,
they gave us a die. They gave it. There was like a
little bag for the
There
dice?
were a little bag for the die, and then if you went farther in and did other stuff, they would give you more swag for whatever
if you
game
played
it
their
was.
game.
Yeah,
right.
Which I thought was, every time we go to a comic convention, though, usually that's
they give you
happens.
something.
They give you stuff. Yeah,
because a lot of those places, because there's so many people, they're like, oh, I'm willing to
promote
your stuff. Right. Correct. So, like I said, sometimes you get some swag, but usually not. But what's different about local cons is that these people who run games at local cons, there's 2 things. They love the game, or they love running GM.
They love GMing.
They love GMing, right? They just love running games, and they like the idea of supporting a local game convention, because without volunteers, there's no con.
Right.
And or they love a game, right? They love a game system, and they're like, just want to share that game with anybody or introduce that game to other people. And I think that's kind of important, because like D&D has overshadowed quite a bit of all these other games. Like some people don't even know there's other role-playing games.
Well, doesn't Doc Cross run like Toon?
Toon, yeah, he's run Toon for the last 30 years or something.
I mean, that's like, there's probably only
there's
2 sessions.
They just kickstarted a 2nd edition.
And there's like always people that want to get into his game.
Oh yeah. Because he's like a what do you call it? I hate to say
a legend.
Well, no, I didn't want to say that. I mean, that's a good thing, but he is a fixture of DunDraCon for running Toon, right?
So people expect it to be there.
And I think he just has a black.
And he really likes it. Yeah.
I mean, he has like large table of players.
Yeah.
like 14 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just the kind of
Because I remember him saying one time that I can only take 16 players. I'm all 16 players. I was like, I'm all.
I have to limit it.
Whoa! I would need some
I go,
help.
dude,
I
I
would
need
need
like
a
5
couple extra GMs to help me with that.
Right. So he's an institution, was what I was going to say.
Okay.
Local institution. Sorry,
He's a
Dogcast.
lovely man.
He is a lovely man. Anyway, so I also did a little bit of number crunching by the system because I kind of crunched them together. Because there was Boston, there was Coriolis, there was Tales from the Loop, and I really felt that they should really be kind of grouped together in some of these games. So I did some number crunching, and like Cyberpunk had 7 sessions, which is pretty good for Cyberpunk. OSR had 10.
A whole bunch of OSR games, but there's a bunch of different OSR games. Yeah.
The ones I could identify as OSR just by the name of the title, that I recognize that were OSR. And another thing I noticed, there were some old games like GURPS. Traveler's there. Yeah. You really love Traveler. And first I was going to say the new games, right? Daggerheart, Draw Steel, which is pretty damn brand new, was there. There's a showing. Monty Python's RPG, which literally is being mailed out to people. And the older games were like GURPS, Hero, the Complete Arduin, right?
I don't even know what that is.
Earth Dawn.
Wow.
Earth Dawn's really old, right? And there were many more. And it was just a white. Well, like I said, there was 91, 92 different systems available for people to try out. And though D&D is a top dog, there's still, the numbers tell us that there are tons more games other than D&D, and they tell us that people there will have quite a bit of choice of what they want to get into.
And I always hear when I'm at the conventions that a lot of the people I talk to say, well, I don't want to play a D&D game. I want to play something else. Of course. So a lot of those games are going to be, a lot of those indie games and different kinds of games are obviously going to have people to play them.
Right. No, definitely. And the weird thing about, not the weird thing about DunDraCon, but DunDraCon was local cons, at least in this area, have like a reputation. Right, Pacificon is like a reputation for heavy board games and
war games. You mean
war games and miniature games?
Yeah.
And KublaCon was a big deal with board games, right? Because they have the board game finals of Catan there, or some, not finals, but
and different ones.
Yeah, right. But DunDraCon, it was an RPG con, right? That was their emphasis, because Dungeons and Dragons. That was the name of the con. And I think it's really interesting that I think it still maintains that kind of that, what do you call it? That reputation for being an RPG con.
Because it has, I think what you're trying to say is that it has more RPGs offered for the convention than the other ones.
Right, for the size that
Whereas, of course, KublaCon has lots of RPGs.
Oh, yeah.
But they may have more board game or card game sessions.
Right. And not only that, they have a lot more people, right?
Yeah.
4,000 people going to KublaCon compared to maybe 2,000 at DunDraCon. And yet their number of RPGs are probably pretty similar.
It also has to do with DunDraCon is very the same. A lot of people have been going there for a long time, right? So those the GMs that want to GM there, they might not go to KublaCon, right?
Correct.
And that's the thing about conventions, is different GMs are going to be, I go to this convention all the time. Like our friend Elaine, her dad comes up from LA to run it every year.
Yeah,
right?
to run Hero.
Yeah, at DunDraCon.
At DunDraCon. And that's the only place
and him and his, yeah. No, we did see her at KublaCon this year, remember?
Oh, I think she was on her own, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't know if her dad was with her.
Her dad he was from the Bay Area and moved down south, and then would come back to run Hero specifically at DunDraCon.
Because he loves the game so much.
He loves the game so much. He's a big old Hero fanatic. And so Elaine, his daughter, that's how we got to know her, is she was in the board game room playing, had a bunch of games with her, and we're like, hey, you want to play with us? She goes, yeah. So she was about 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And yeah, we still know her, and she's like now teaching math somewhere in LA, a complete grown up. and kind of scary. Kind of scary for us. It's well, like makes us feel more old than we feel already. But yes, it's very exciting that
I think that's why different conventions have different
reputations.
Not,
Or
I don't know. Reputation is not the word I would use.
being known for
Different emphasis. I've heard people say at DunDraCon, as I'm standing there, they'll go, "Well, I should have been able to get into a game," and I'm like going, "Well, maybe you picked the wrong game because there's like a lot of games. Maybe you put your number in wrong or something, like Saul did one time."
Yeah, it does happen. Well, the weird thing is that the local cons use a different way of letting people get into games, right? KublaCon, not KublaCon, DunDraCon does a lottery system,
Yeah.
which depending on how lucky or unlucky you are, you can be very happy or very sad. And then KublaCon does a weird hybrid one where they will allow half the seats in your session to be first come first serve, and the other ones are
in the
sort
shuffler
of like
or
a
whatever
lottery
they want.
type
Yeah.
thing. And then Pacificon is so small that you just have sign up sheets that you just sign up at first come first serve.
Yeah, which is before. Didn't DunDraCon used to have sign up sheets too?
Well, I don't. As far as I remember, they've always had the shuffler.
Okay.
Because I think one of the, not the founding members, but one of the early members of the convention, who is run by a committee, is a programmer, right?
Right. Yeah.
So he goes, "Oh, let's do this way," and so he's the one that built the shuffler or the program,
and he tinkers with it too.
And of course, he's always tinkering with it, being a computer guy that he is.
That's what programmers do.
They love to tinker, those tech heads. So yeah, I said tech heads, by the way. Anyway, I think these numbers just kind of tell us you can draw what you want from it, but I think what it says about this convention is that a lot of people play a lot of different games.
Well, not only this convention, but since the guy we got the idea from watching the video of the guy talking about Gen Con, or you got the idea because I would have never done that. Anyway.
What are you saying? It was a complete waste of time?
But no, when you compare it, you can see that the people throughout the United States, or at least that go to these two conventions, which one is huge and one is a local. Small. It's not that small. I mean, it's pretty a big convention, but it's not as big as Gen Con, right? But you can see that basically the same people are interested in playing the same, or people are playing the same kind of games, right?
Right.
That's what people are playing.
Correct.
Because that's what you wanted to talk about.
See what's popular and what's not so popular, but at the same time, I think it's interesting that you can see how the wide variety of games that are offered.
And he only did like the top 10 games or something, and there had to be more with that many people. There have to be way more games, right? So
some games
that means that like there's probably hero games.
Oh yeah.
That there, and there's probably different. Obviously, because there was Shadowrun was one of the popular games there.
Right. And I think that had to do with probably sponsorship,
and probably because they came out with a new
edition.
A new edition.
6th edition.
Yeah.
They're really pushing that one. So I think it does tell us a little bit of insight into conventions and what people are playing. And it tells us that though D&D is super popular, obviously, it also tells us that there are 90 other games that are being offered at a local con.
Which is amazing to me.
It is amazing. You go, wow, that's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games. I was amazed that there were that many games. I mean,
yeah. Interesting. Anyway.
So there you go. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
You have a good day.